I know some of you are disappointed that the Brewers finished the month of April and going into this series of the Cubs are 16 and 16. I get it. But considering a few things that have happened to them this year and the fact that it was a pretty bland off season, I guess we shouldn't be disappointed, and this is where they should be. We'll get into that. Got the big series coming up this weekend, chance to right a few wrongs, all that coming up next on this edition of Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Brewers took 2 of 3 against the White Sox, but we're going to think about the game on Thursday where they just didn't show and gave the White Sox one of their easier victories of the season. They've only had 8 wins, and the Brewers gave them one, 8-0 on Thursday. But still going in, I was hoping the Brewers could take 2 of 3, and they do. And going into this 3-game set that starts Friday night against the Cubs, they're 3 games behind Chicago and a chance to either give the Cubs some distance away from the Brewers. The Cubs have that opportunity, or the Brewers can tighten things up a little bit. Hi, everybody. Chuck Freeman here. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. I am fired up for this series with the Cubs. A first look at the Cubs this weekend. The Cubs right now 19 and 13. They just took 2 of 3, a 2 of 3 from the Pirates, and we'll talk more about the Cubs here in a little bit. The Brewers, they're right now a team that I think is still trying to find themselves at 16 and 16. You know, they got off to that terrible start. It's just been an odd season so far. Pat Murphy said this. He said, it's been a long month of April, one of the longest of his 40 years in baseball. And I agree. I feel like we've been like halfway through the season already. That's how long it's been. There's been ups and downs and drama and injuries. And God, so many injuries to deal with. And a different starting pitcher, and this guy getting sent down, this guy getting started up. We're going to have this platoon. We've had guys benched. We've had a lot of things crammed in to 1 month of the season. A lot of things. A pair of 4-game skids. Brewers got shut out for first time on Thursday. It's been a long first half, but I got news for you. We got about 130 of these left. 130 to be exact. Because we're at 32 right now, and we got 130 left, plus the postseason, if we get that far. But this season, I mean, if we think if Murphy thinks this has been a long season so far, it's going to get warm outside and cold again before the season ends. We haven't even got the summer yet, and then once we get the fall and the weather gets cold, and then the season comes to a close. We're ready for winter. We got a long way to go. God, we got a long way to go. Right now, the Brewers at 16 and 16. Yeah, of course I'd love to see them better at this point. But considering some of the guys they've had to throw out there, like Chad Patrick, gave him everything he could on Thursday, pitched 5 2/3, one of his best starts. And still they lost. I mean, Chad Patrick has come up and he's got an ERA under 3. We didn't expect that out of him this year. They've had other guys in that rotation step up. The bullpen has been, I'm going to be nicer and say the bullpen has been okay. Okay so far. Okay. Pitched really good in the 7 innings on Wednesday night. The offense, as we know, just has been blithering. Getting shut out by that bad team, the White Sox, left side of the infield. Ortiz starting to heat up a little bit. Got picked off. Is Ortiz the next guy to get benched? I thought after that happened, Murphy would bench his 4th guy in the season. Thought maybe Ortiz might have been a candidate there. But still, I would say to those of you who are disappointed in the 16 and 16 record, don't be. they've kept this thing together somehow and prevented it from falling apart. I mean, look at the batting. I mean, is there anybody really on this team? Terang, Frelick, and then who else? Hoskins, who almost hit a grand slam, almost doesn't count on Thursday. But 16-16, I think the Brewers are right where they should be right now. And as for catching the Cubs, who are 19-13, I've said all along the Brewers have a better team, but right now the Cubs are playing better, obviously. And you look at the Cubs lineup, there's nobody really hitting. Crow Armstrong's got 6 home runs. He's in the last 3 weeks, he's really done. He's hit most of those home runs in the last three or 4 weeks. But Dansby Swanson, who homered on Thursday, he's batting .213. Happ had 3 hits. Nobody, I think, in that offense in that lineup right now. I mean, Kyle Tucker is the one guy who I would say really scares you. You know, he's got 7 home runs on the season. But, you know, the Cubs right now are still a little bit better. Suspect in the bullpen. But I look at this series with the Cubs that the Brewers can't get swept. The Brewers just cannot get swept. And they're capable of getting swept by the Cubs. I don't know if the Brewers are capable of sweeping the Cubs at this point. But you can't get swept and fall 6 games behind these guys with Houston coming to town on Monday night. You preferably, obviously, take 2 or 3, 2 games out starting the week next week. But I don't think the Brewers are good enough to sweep the Cubs. Yet I think the Cubs are good enough to sweep the Brewers, if that makes sense. I'm excited for this weekend. I really am. I honestly am not looking forward to the Cub fans coming to town. I really hate it. And I hated this when the Brewers played the White Sox back in the day when they were both in the American League. Because when the Cubs do something nice, home run, whatever, strike out a Brewer, you hear the Cub fans. I hate it. Hate going down to the casino and seeing Cub fans, going to the bars around town and seeing Cub fans. I hate seeing Cub fans in our city. I do. I hate seeing the Cubs jerseys. I hate it all. But I'm excited for the series. But the drawback is seeing people wearing Cubs jerseys in our ballpark. That really bothers me. But I get it. They're coming to our beautiful facility, and they know all 3 games, despite being in the 40s on Friday, it's going to be played. You can't say the same thing about going to Wrigley Field. The one common thread in the Cubs and the Brewers, they both have issues at third base. They both had situations coming out of spring training that they thought they were going to settle in. The Cubs settled on Matt Shaw at third base. He's down to AAA. Brewers basically settled on Dunn and Capra, and Dunn is down to AAA Nashville. So both the Brewers and Cubs haven't figured out the third base spot. The Cubs should be ashamed of themselves. A big market. Well, thank goodness they don't act like a big market team, because the Cubs should have fixed that financially. They should have bought themselves a third baseman. I'm glad they didn't go out and get Bregman, but I thought that's what they were going to do. But the Cubs being the Bregs, the Cubs being the Cubs, they've had 6 different third basemen so far. Nicky Lopez started at third base on Thursday. So the Brewers, yeah, they ought to be embarrassed how they flubbed up the third base spot in the offseason. And if you listen to this podcast, we said all along that they did. And the Cubs, well, they should be especially embarrassed. The big market team, when they had a chance to go out and buy a few of those players, and they never did. But I'm glad they didn't. And oh, by the way, if you're not going to the game, can't turn on Bally's, because the game is going to be on Apple TV. It's part of the Friday night package. And the Brewers and Cubs. How about that? Brewers and Cubs. So if you're going to go to a place, a bar or a restaurant to watch the game, which people like to do on a Friday night, go out and get a fish fry and watch the Brewers game. Nope. Unless that bar has Apple TV, which I haven't been to a bar that has. Brewers and Cubs on Apple TV on Friday night. Part of their Friday night package. But the Cubs have played a tougher schedule so far. You look at it, they started in Japan during spring training, had to come back, went to the West Coast a couple of times. They've been in Arizona, they've been in Sacramento, they've been in San Diego, they've had to play them. They played the Padres at home, they played the Phillies at home, they played the Dodgers at home, and they played the Dodgers at Chavez Ravine. So they've played the Dodgers in three different times this year. Japan, Los Angeles, and Wrigley. The Cubs have, I'd say, have had the toughest travel and the toughest schedule so far. The toughest travel and the toughest schedule, having to go to Japan, throwing in there. As opposed to the Brewers, who've played the two worst teams in baseball, the White Sox and Colorado. I think the Dodgers played Colorado too, but the Brewers have also played the White Sox. So it's been the Brewers' schedule has not been really, really tough, where I think the Cubs, you'll be hard-pressed to find a schedule tougher than they've had so far, and they're 19-13. And they bounced back after a slow start, after losing those two games in Japan. And they got off to a little bit of a slow start in Arizona, but it bounced back and, again, just took 2 or 3 from Pittsburgh after dropping 2 or 3 to Philadelphia over the weekend. So, series 2 night games and a day game coming up. The pitching matchups. Ben Brown is going in game 1 for the Cubs. Quinn Priester, need a good outing from Quinn Priester. I know he's kind of on life support as far as staying in the rotation for Brewers fans. There's been some talk that the fans are, after his initial outing, that maybe that he needs a trip down to AAA. I don't think he's there just yet. Let's see how he does on Friday night, Priester. You got to love who the Brewers have Saturday and Sunday going against their pitchers. Quintana's pitching on Saturday night, Freddie Peralta on Sunday. So you like that the Brewers have their 2 top pitchers going against the Cubs. They lined it up right. Italian going on Saturday, and Imanaga going on Sunday for the Cubs. I think he left the game against the Pirates on Tuesday with a little bit of an injury, as I recall. But they still have him listed for Sunday's game, which will be on Apple TV on Friday night, and then the other 2 games will be back to normal. Of course, Brewers and Cubs, don't worry, they're not going to be on Sunday night TV. As you know, the Brewers don't do Sunday night TV, not because they don't want to do it. It's the Major League Baseball just does not want to see the Cubs and Brewers on national TV. All right, we come back. We'll talk about Craig Yoho. It was odd that he stayed in. He was in there a heck of a long time. Longer than he should have been, I thought. That was kind of odd to me. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. We'll see. We'll get to that next. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. Amazon TV. We are big Amazon Fire TV sticks in this house. We are. Got one on my TV monitor here in the studio, downstairs, upstairs, in the bedroom. We got them everywhere. And you can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices, like my son does to our TV downstairs. No console is required. Just grab your paired controller. My kid's got 3 of those. I don't know why he's got 3, but he's got 3. Subscribe or sign into the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports, College Football 25, and also Call of Duty. Easy as you stream your favorite shows as well. And of course, I love it. I love streaming TV. Got the ML package on my my Fire Stick and all that. I got it on my satellite TV, but also have it on my Fire Stick as well. And of course, you get any package on there. It's just a beautiful thing. A Fire Stick, one of the greatest inventions ever. You can grab and take those Fire Sticks anywhere you want to in the house or on the road with you, or wherever you want. You got everything loaded on there. Go to Amazon.com. Amazon.com. Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller is required for this, but they're on a bunch of Fire TV sticks, including the Fire TV Stick 4K second generation, the 4K Max first and second generation, and the third generation Fire TV Cube. All there, but dive into it with Fire TV. It's also your Xbox. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. And by the way, our podcast had a lot of downloads on our podcast from last night. Talked about Pat Murphy. Kind of getting tough on the Brewers this year. We're seeing a different side of Pat Murphy this year. Go to yesterday's episode if you want to watch that. It's all up there. In fact, all our episodes, all from off-season on, all archived, both on YouTube and your respective platforms, wherever you download your podcasts. We're on Google, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. We're on all the audio platforms out there. We're the number one Brewers podcast on the internet because you great Brewer fans out there. So when you download these, there's on all those places I mentioned, there's a place where you can get an alert when we drop the episode. So it's there for you in the morning. And of course, our growing YouTube page. Please subscribe to YouTube, our YouTube page. It's free, all free. Go to YouTube, search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode on Locked On Brewers. Craig Yoho, a little introduction to Major League Baseball. Now, we all love Craig Yoho. I think he's got a bright future. There's no doubt. The guy's got a great changeup. Although it was tattered for a 3-run home run that allowed the White Sox to pull away from a 1-0 lead in the 6th inning and make it 4-0. And Yoho stayed in the game. In fact, he came back in the next inning and gave up 3 more runs. Yoho, 1 inning pitched, 3 hits, 5 earned runs, 4 walks, and he allowed the two inherited runs as well. It was a rough day. I was surprised they kept Yoho in. He threw 35 pitches. And then finally Murphy did have enough. A little long, I thought, that Yoho, and I don't know if Murphy was sending him a message too, or just giving him some tough love that you need to get out of this, you need to work through this, because Murphy already saw that Murphy knew when it was 4-0, his team went battling back. He knows the Brewers. These managers know their team like the back of their hand. And I think we know, not as much as Murphy, but we know that once that 3-run home run was given up by Yoho and the Brewers got down 4-0 on Thursday, they weren't coming back to win that game. They weren't coming back. That was one of those games where the Brewers offensively just couldn't do anything. And sure, Hoskins had a home run, a grand slam taken away in the 1st inning. But I don't look at it that like, wow, another foot, he would have had a grand slam. Nope, but he didn't have another foot. It was caught by Robert out there in center field by the White Sox. But Chad Patrick going 5 2/3, gave way to Yoho, threw 102 pitches. But I just thought with Yoho, and the home run was hit on an 0-2 changeup down. I was surprised they kept him out there. Murphy kept him out there as long as he did after it was obvious that Yoho didn't have it. But then again, the bullpen was taxed from the day before. Remember, Myers only went 2 innings the night before because Murphy pulled him because he didn't like the way Myers approached that game. So Murphy brought it on himself to have his bullpen suck up 7 innings the night before. As a result, he didn't have many bullpen guys to go to. And so Yoho had to take one for the team, or they were giving him some tough love, whatever it was. But the line for Yoho is not very pretty. And his ERA right now is at 9.53. 9.53. It's been tough, but that's all right. He'll have better days. We all want Yoho on this roster, and I still do. Had a bad outing. I wasn't in favor in keeping him in the ball game, but again, maybe he was just eating up some innings or some tough love of throwing Yoho out and saying, kid, this is what MLB ball is all about. Could be Murphy sending a message again. But I'll take 2 or 3 from the White Sox. I said at the beginning on Monday when we previewed this series, I said, hey, if they take 2 or 3, I'll be happy with it. And of course, you win the first 2 and you get greedy and you want to take the third one. And I don't like how they lost that one. Just really uncompetitive. But still, longest road trip of the year. That 10-gamer came to an end. I feel like it's been 2 months since the Brewers have been home. I feel like it's like literally, it's been like 3 weeks or 4 weeks. But man, it's been a long time. And looking forward to being out there this weekend. And if you see me out there, please say hello. I'll be at the Friday and Sunday games, but please say hello if you see me walking around the ballpark. Message me or whatever. Let me know. You follow me on Twitter, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. But I'd love to meet up with you guys. Love to meet up with the group Brewer fans. I'll be walking around. I might have my Lockdown Brewers shirt on for easy identification. All right. Brewers have this series coming up with the Cubs. And as I said, they cannot get swept in this series. Got to take at least 2 or 3. I love the fact that Quintana is going on Saturday and Freddie on Sunday. And got to get back on the winning track. But I've said this is going to be one of those seasons for the Brewers that it's going to be, there's going to be some ups and downs. But if, like Murphy said the other day, winning baseball, you can't play 500 baseball. They can't stay like this. If they're going to be in the race, sooner or later, they're going to have to go on a little bit of a winning streak here to get some separation. But playing the Cubs and the Astros is not the way to do it. You had the easy part of your schedule already, and it didn't happen for you. For many reasons, it didn't happen for you. Blew a game in Arizona. Probably should have swept Colorado. And this game on Thursday against the White Sox, yeah, you can say, well, you know, I know some of you were talking about going in there and sweeping, but that's just the way baseball is. Murphy said something interesting. He said, there's no bad baseball teams in MLB, just teams with bad records. I get that because, like in football, in the NFL, a bad football team is a bad football team and it's not going to win. And it's not even going to rise up and beat the best team in the league. But in baseball, a team like the White Sox can rise up and beat the Dodgers. Or Colorado can come up and bite the Yankees or the Dodgers. That's just the way it is. You got a pitcher on the mound and you got an offense on the other team that's not doing well. The pitcher makes everything happen. So, like I said, I wasn't expecting to take all 3 of these games. Just wanted to take 2 or 3, but was disappointed that they did not win and sweep the series because I was getting a little greedy there. All right. Pick to click this weekend. I think it's going to be Contreras having a big weekend. I think Contreras is going to have a big weekend. The Brewers are so short-handed right now because of injuries and sicknesses and all that. Contreras had to play left field. Contreras was in left field toward the end of that game on Thursday night. That's where the Brewers are right now. Contreras had to play left field. Luckily, the ball never found him. But he would have handled himself anyway because he's a pro's pro. All right, that's going to do it. We'll be around all weekend doing, I'll be dropping shorts. If you subscribe to us on the YouTube page, you'll get those. I'll do, 60-second updates, opinion updates after every game of the series, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So keep it right here on YouTube if you're following us on YouTube. And I'll also drop those on my Twitter page, a link to it. Again, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. Follow us on all the audio platforms out there. Again, Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all the major downloads. And please subscribe to our growing YouTube page so you don't miss a thing. Any of our shorts or whatever, they're always on YouTube. And of course, like I said at the beginning, everything is always archived right here on Locked On Brewers, man. Hey, let's have a fun weekend with the Cubs coming to town. Oh, and I didn't even mention Craig Counsell. To be honest with you, that Craig going to Chicago, that was a weekend thing. Memorial Day weekend last year when the Brewers first faced him. I don't even care. That's water under the dam. Are we going to be booing Quentin Berry because he's the third base coach of the Cubs now? That Craig was able to take him over after the last season? No. It's a business, guys. Don't worry about it. If you want to boo Craig this weekend, go right ahead. I don't care. I'm worried about winning the games. I want to take 2 or 3 from these guys and move within 2 games going into Monday night. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen to. We'll talk to you this weekend, everybody.